Hi everyone, it's Jennifer Ryan, and today I'm going to show you how I do my makeup. So on my last video where I sang a song, one comment said they want to know how I do my makeup. And I really like how I do my makeup. So I figured this is a good time to show you how I do it. So the first thing I like to do is I need to get my hair out of the way. I have very long hair. I need to make sure that's not in my face. So I always use a headband. And I start with, surprisingly enough, concealer, but on my eyes. I use this deeper Maybelline concealer that is not my skin tone at all, but it's nice for the eyes, and I put it on the outer corners of my eyes. I blend it out with the sponge. And then now that the outer corners of my eyes are pretty dark, I do my concealer. And for concealer, I use the same concealer. I use the same Maybelline concealer, but I use it in two shades. I use it in shade 95 and 100. And I put 95 right here because it's really light. And I put 100 for the rest. And I just go a little bit under there so it blends easier. And then I blend that out, because duh. And now that my concealer is there and it's really lightened the inner corners of my eyes, I do my blush. I know a lot of people do their blush at the end, but I like to start off with my blush. I use Rare Beauty because TikTok in the shade Happy. I've been using this for like 2.5 years. I love it. So when I put the blush on my face, I just like to put it here and then blend it in this direction. I know a lot of people like to bring their blush up this way, but I like to make my face look more round because I really love going for that Disney princess cartoonish round face look. Like one of the best compliments I've ever gotten on my makeup was a classmate of mine told me I look like Vanellope Von Schweetz from Wreck-It Ralph, and that's the goal. I just want to look kind of cutesy and animated, like a little cartoon bunny or something. And then, since the Rare Beauty blush is really pigmented, I don't like to put it straight on my nose, but I love blush on my nose, so I just take the sponge that has product on it, and I kind of pinch it like this, and I bounce it along the bridge of my nose, I guess. And then, see, it's just kind of rosy there. That's the goal. And while I wait for my face to dry down, I do my eyebrows. And to do my eyebrows, I take this old eyebrow spoolie, and I take hairspray, and I spray the spoolie, and I brush my eyebrows through with the hairspray. And I really like it because it means that they stay in place all day. They don't move. And it just keeps them really like... You'll notice I tweeze my eyebrows to just kind of be very flat across the bottom. I think I saw a Disney animator one time talk about how the flatter the eyebrow, the younger and cuter and more youthful a character looks. And so I looked at that and I just started kind of implementing it into what I do with my eyebrows. And I really like it. It reminds me a lot of the girls in Cat's Eye. They all have these kind of eyebrows where it's very like... So yeah, you'll notice that a running theme throughout this is I get a lot of my makeup inspiration from party princesses and Disney parks actors and cartoons. And so the next step in my makeup routine is I do my eyeliner. And this is the eyeliner I love. It's the Benefit Roller Liner. I've been using this for 3 years now. And I like it because it's very black, very matte, very pigmented. And I can buy one of these like every 4 or 5 months and I'm good. I normally use a magnifying mirror when I do my eyeliner because I really like to get up close and see what I'm doing. But I don't have that right now because... camera. And I just like to do a little like, very much like how Disney princesses, their eyelashes are drawn on in that one kind of singular swoop. And so I use my eyeliner to try to kind of mirror that. And that's it, very cartoonish. It doesn't go past the like center of my eye. And so now I'm just gonna do that, but on the other side. So that's my eyeliner, my 2 little wings. It doesn't have to be perfectly even. This isn't perfectly even. I've always noticed too that doing my left eye is so much easier than doing my right eye because I'm right-handed. So when I'm doing my right eye, I'm kind of just stabbing in my eye. But when I'm doing my left eye, I can use the shape of the felt tip to my advantage and just kind of like, but that's just because I'm cool. Anyways, so now that I've let the products that are wet kind of dry down a little bit, I need to set them. And this is one of my favorite parts. I set my blush with more blush. I take this blush, it's an old NARS blush in the shade Torrid. It's broken on the inside, so I don't want to show you what it looks like because it's a little shameful. And I put on my brush and I like tap it on to where I put the blush on. And it looks a little intense right now, but I think the blush is really what sells it. And then once I've tapped it on, I use the sponge again just to kind of diffuse the edges. I don't really know if this does anything. I think it does, but I could be delusional. It helps me have peace of mind, so that's what it does. And then I use a little powder puff. Mine are little pink little heart-shaped ones. And I use the Fenty Beauty powder because my mom bought it for me and I haven't run out yet. So I use this and I put on the sponge like this. And I go and I powder my concealer. I've been doing my own makeup every day, probably since I was 13, 14. And I think people a lot of times mistake wearing makeup as a sign of insecurity. And I don't think that it means you're insecure at all. I think it means that you are sure of how you want to look and who you want to be. And I don't really think that I use makeup as a mask. I think I use makeup to express myself. And especially as a trans person, I think every day when I walk outside, there's preconceived notions about me and who I am. And I like to use makeup to present myself the way that I want to be presented, the way I want to be seen instead of how I'm expected to be seen. And back onto powders for your face. This is my little magnetic palette. It has a sticker of Snoopy on it because I love Snoopy. And I was tired of carrying around a bunch of palettes with me, so I just recently depotted a bunch of my favorite eyeshadows and put them in here. And I like to do a little nose highlight, and with it I take this like shimmery pink shade because I don't have any pink highlighters. And I use pink because I want my nose to still be rosy, but I also want it to be highlighted. So I use this pink and I just go right, like you can see that the light is hitting my nose right there. So I go right along there. Yeah, I really like doing it like that. I think it gives my nose a little like buttony kind of look. And then to really sell that button effect, I use like a really warm blush, one that's a little more gingery one. This one is e.l.f. And I take it on a little brush like this. And I use this to kind of contour my nose, but with blush so that it stays pinkish. I go right on the top there. And I think it looks contour-y. It also looks kind of sunburny, which I think is really cute. So that's what I do to give my nose that really just like cartoonish look. This is really scary. I feel like I'm blanking. Like, how do I do my makeup? Which is crazy because I do it like this every day. I think next I do the inner corner highlight of my eyes, which I've seen is very popular amongst my peers and people my age. And I think that's cool. The way I like to do it is I use this ColourPop highlighter in the shade Flexitarian. And instead of just putting it in my inner corner, I like to do it with a little more shape and a little more intention, I guess. So I take the highlighter on this kind of a brush and I use it to just trace the kind of inner V of my inner corner of my eye. And I use my finger to smooth out the edges. I feel like now might be a good time to mention that I went to beauty school for 2 years at the same time as high school because high school was very boring. So I went to beauty school for 2 years and I actually learned a lot. I made some really good friends. So take my advice with a grain of salt, but know that it's a very, it's somewhat educated advice. So once I've done my inner corner, like that, there's not much left to the makeup. First, I'm gonna start off by sweeping off all this powder into my eyes and getting rid of it. And I just, you know, I just get it off my face. And then I do the same thing I did with my blush, is I go over everything with the moist sponge again, because something in me says that it helps. This is one of those things where I'm like, yeah, Maybe. Wow, I just said that I'm qualified to give makeup advice and then questioned my own makeup advice. And then, because we did that darkness on the outer corners of our eyes at the start, I'm a firm believer in anything you do to the top of your eye, you need to do to the bottom. So I go back into my little magnetic palette, and I take this color, which is kind of the same kind of vibe as the concealer I used on the outer corner of my eye. And I just go in this kind of outer half of my eye. I think that it helps because I'm very pale, and I think sometimes from far away my eye can sometimes blend into my under eye, and I think this helps kind of keep it separate and solidify where my eyes are. So I'm almost done, which feels weird because even though I've been doing this for a while, it feels like I'm speeding through this. So one of my last steps, I take the Maybelline Sky High mascara, which also I bought because the internet told me to. And I actually like it. I do really like it. I used to use the RAM lengthening one, but this one's cheaper and easier to find. And I think the mascara just really ties everything together. Mascara is always when I start to feel it. When I put the mascara on, I'm always like, I do know you once upon a dream. When will my prince come? Someday. I always start to feel it when I put the mascara on. I'm like, ooh, I could stop now, but I won't. Because the last step is lips, and I really like lips. I've been really into lips lately. I used to just do like a little plumping gloss and move on with my life. But lately I found a lip combo that I really like, and it's cheap, so I can use it without feeling guilty about using it a lot. I use the NYX Line Loud lip pencil in Global Citizen, and I line my lips with this. And you'll notice I skip over my Cupid's bow because I played as Princess Peach too many times as a kid. And then I really do, I just a line. So that's my lip liner. And then I use the NYX Lip Lingerie in Expose Me because I heard that Chaperone uses it. And I put it in, I kind of use the doe foot to kind of go over the liner a little bit. And that's my lipstick, which means that I'm done. This is how I do my makeup. This is how I do my little Disney princess cartoonish look. I know I look very normal, but know that the inspiration exists. It is there. But this is my makeup. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you try it out. Let me know what you think, because any engagement is good engagement. Don't forget to please like and subscribe, and I'll see everybody on the next video. Thank you.